Greetings, Internet. Welcome to Aaron Plays. In this episode, we'll be continuing my game of Russia Besieged. We'll be playing solo as both sides, and we are just about to do turn 5 for the Germans, Axis, which is the January-February turn. The weather for this turn is snow in both phases, so the Axis will still be suffering the effect that if they're not, as it's the first winter, if they're not in or adjacent to a major or minor city, their defense and attack values are halved because of the combat supply. The Finns aren't affected by this. SS units and that's about it. Yeah, but as we don't have too many of those units, that's pretty much most of the Axis forces in Russia. That's going to seriously curtail their offensive opportunities and also make them a bit worried about the defensive. You saw the previous episode, the Russians adopted a policy of attrition and went in close, took some casualties themselves, but for the first time, the Axis forces started to lose some units. The Russians attacking with lower level odds attacks, but were able to cause casualties for the first time in the game. So I've already done the initial reinforcements replacements phase because the Axis do get an option there, but it's nothing great. They actually lose 2 of their leaders and they lose 3 of their bomber units, reflecting the re-emergence of the Soviet Russian Air Force. So they're not actually gaining any units, they are losing. Which also brings me to the leaders. These, as it's a new year, these are all removed from the spent to the available. So the Russians have got 1 available. The Axis now have 6 for the year. It can only be used once each year. So what's the main worries that the Germans Axis have? Well, there's a big gap here in the line, which we know the Russians could exploit. Also, the Finns are looking precariously weak. So something's got to go over and assist them as soon as possible. Maybe another German corps. In the south, it's a fairly stable front. Though again, the Russians are close here and starting to cause casualties. The current losses, we bring up the actual losses for each side at the present moment. All right, so permanently lost from the game for the Russians are these units. They had surrendered, so they will not be brought back into the game at all. And actual replacement track units. So currently, that's the Axis units that they can build from replacements, and that's the Russians. So there's quite a few Russian units that can be brought onto the board, and then obviously their corresponding replacement rate will allow them to do so. Okay, so with that in mind, we've got also two partisans to worry about. So we've got no supply coming through along those routes. Blocked. This guy can move, and any partisans within 5 hexes of him can be removed. So that will probably be the first unit to move. Let's move him back to Minsk. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think that's instantaneous, but let's check. Now it'll be at the end of the German movement phase that those two partisans will be removed. Okay, so what to do? We need to fall back here. Now, there's obviously a restriction on movement because of the actual snow. Let's bring this up here. Let us know all units have got half movement rate. And in the second impulse, we've got 1 movement point. German infantry, armor have got 2. Half movement, fractions rounded up. So these have got 3. Let's see. We're going to have to pull back from Leningrad at this point. We haven't got that much to fill the gap here. So 1, 2, 3. Maybe fall back 1 unit there. And 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So using Lake Pipus as part of the front line. Now we need to get or want to get a unit over to help the Finns. First of all, we do still want to cut, if we can. That's 3 movement points. But we need to fall back. So, yeah, we don't want to go into zone of control because then we have to attack, which is the last thing we want to do. So the question is, can we get a unit across there in the second impulse? We're going to move into the port. Let me check how that will actually work. So a unit that uses sea transport cannot use any other form of movement during that impulse, unless it's coming in as a reinforcement. Don't have any reinforcements as we know. So we will move 26th Corps into Riga and then use that to get to Helsinki during the second impulse, which still leaves this chap on his own. These guys will be able to do a minimum move into there. So any Russian that wants to come into here will have to attack both and across the river. So not good. However, we just moved this guy to here without consideration of supply. The railhead is here. So that is no good. Because the maximum distance of supply is 4 X's. So he needs to come back, being it's snow. Railhead's there, 1, 2, 3, 1. Okay. Yeah, so if he went all the way up to there, he'd be eliminated. So it's all grand trying to cut off Mance, but needs to do it in strength. So no, that's a foolish plan. Okay. The amount of rail movement is also restricted. So I was thinking of moving this unit by rail. But as yet, we haven't actually built this rail link. Rail heads up this way. So either you know what? Let's move him by rail. Yeah, because we didn't control Riga, we've got no rail link here. He's not starting on a rail. So, okay, 1, 2, 3. So we've now got rail clone that, flip that, so we now have that going up to there. Right, okay, so that's starting it now. Do we really want to pull back from Villaluki? No, because we're at full strength. That's what I'm adjacent to that. Ideally, we want to get a unit into this location. So, got a unit on the rail line here. So let's move him to there and then to there by rail. Now, my rail capacity in the winter is maximum for a turn is 4 in snow. So that'll be the first one. Can we clone that? Or we can. Right. 2, 3 left we can move by rail. So I think that's holds that position. Okay, we're going to move the infantry into here and pull the armor back hex. You know what? Actually, we're going to put both into Villaluki. We do need to hold on to these towns. So we've got, I think this is some this again now using the useful. Right, so that's some links. So honor adjacent to that. I think those two staying there be good. Because yeah, it's a bit of a tricky one. Got to stop when you enter a zone of control. Okay. 2, 3. Trying to create a bit of a line here. 3. Yeah, I think we need to pull back a little bit, straighten the line up a little, especially in this central area. We're starting the zone of control. As long as we don't go to another hex in the zone of control, we're okay. I think if you're in the zone of control on the second impulse, you're stuck. Again, I will now check. So yeah, units that begin the first impulse movement phase in an enemy ZOC may exit only if the first hex they enter is not in an enemy ZOC. If you begin in the second impulse in an enemy ZOC, you may not move. So yeah, that's quite restrictive. And ground units may not move directly from one enemy ZOC into another enemy ZOC. And also, if you enter as an enemy ZOC, you must stop movement. So yeah, we can pull back. Now, looking at the summer offensive, we need quite a few major cities by the end of 42. Currently, we've just taken Riga. Looking at this at the present moment, we're going to be on. We've just taken Riga. It's going to be 13. Well, we need 17 by the end of 42. So Is Moscow going to be achievable? Is Leningrad going to be achievable? I doubt it. Hence why we need to drive Kharkov, Stalino, and Dnipro. These not pronounced Dnipropetrovsk, Rostov, and such forth. So we want to start preparing for Case Blue or Blau. So we might have to start shifting some of these panzers southwards. You've got half movement. So 1, 2, 3, 4. One, two, three, four. Can't enter the zone of control, of course. 1, 2, 3, 4. We don't want to be in this X because then we have to attack. The last thing we want to do at the present moment is attack. Reduce rate. There's no towns here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. One, two, three. 1, 2. Maximum stacking for the Germans being 3 core size units. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so these only got 2. 1, 2. So why am I moving a lot of these German armored units out of the front line? Well, if the Russians attack them, they're the ones, normally the strongest combat unit takes the first step loss. And if it's armored, they take the first step loss anyway. And you want to preserve the Axis armor as best as possible. Because they don't get that many replacements at all. So okay. 2 to cross the river. 3. So preservation of the armored forces, if possible. I think actually we'll leave that unit there. This one across 1, 2, 3, 4. So there won't be any German attacks. Okay, so that's the end of that movement impulse, at which point we remove the partisans. They've got the partisan holding box. There's a whole mini game with those. I can't see how effective they're going to be at present. Into the axis second impulse. So we want to move this unit from here to Helsinki. So using the C movement table, bring that up. All right, so with modifiers, -2 for control major naval base, which in this case is Königsberg, yes. -1 for each other port control at the start of the impulse. Oh, excuse me. Apologise for the coughing. So yeah, -2 for the major, -1 for Tallinn and Helsinki. It's -3, -4. Each destination within 9 hectares of a friendly air base. Oh, I did have that and I moved that away. Okay. I think that's why I'm not moved it in the first place. Okay, so still -4. For each other enemy port within, for each major naval air base, it's not 1, 2, 3. Depends where that actually is located, isn't it? That is major port. I mean, Leningrad's here. Is it from the port symbol or from Leningrad itself? Because Leningrad is out of range, so I'm going to treat it as out of range. But if it's the symbol, which is there, then it's 1, 2, 3, 4. No other base. So it's a net -4 on the dice. Here, the die roll. One, C movement successful. And that's his move, that impulse. Okay, so these guys are going to fall back to here. You're going to get there. He can't move any further. He's okay there. He can move into there with his rail converted marker. Pull back. These guys can effectively move 1 X. They've got 1 movement. Okay. Do we really want to? So we don't want to put the armor if we can avoid it in the front line. This Axis unit's got no movement. They've got 2 movement points. We're going to move this. We're going to move this unit by rail. This is the Italians. Let's move them by rail. I think it's a maximum we can move in the second impulse by rail. Yeah, 2. Done. Okay, I think that might be it. Again, we're not forced to attack here because of the river. We're not adjacent anywhere else. Don't really want to attack anywhere else. I think at this point it's literally for force preservation. Do we want to move? These can all move. Need those now. Okay, yeah, it is what it is during the winter. The Axis forces pulling back, trying to get as close to some cities as possible. I mean, there's just nothing here. Openness, so these Axis are at half strength. We're also trying to get some movement down here. Yes, it's been telegraphed. Again, you are restricted by the movement. We don't want to waste too much time in the new year. So from sort of April, May, and such forth. Doesn't mean they couldn't switch up. So the Russians are going to need to keep a strong line. Anyway, that's the end for this video. So thank you for watching. Hit the like if you enjoyed what you're seeing. If you're enjoying the playthrough, again, the more likes, the algorithm shows it to more people and such forth. Hit the subscribe if you haven't done so already. Comments, anything obvious that I've missed, done, or could have done better, let me know, because comments is how we learn. And thank you for watching. Until next time, bye, Internet.